1 hour later, Tony took some time to rearrange his thoughts after locking up the Aegis serum. He looked at the 2 surviving terrorists through the observation window. They were unconscious, breathing steadily under the influence of a mild sedative he had injected moments ago. The serum had worked and his experiments had given him groundbreaking data, but now, it was time to change tactics. No more human experiments, he muttered to himself. He had gotten what he needed, and any more would push him further down a path he wasn't willing to walk. Instead, these 2 would serve a different purpose. He then went inside and injected them with a tiny amount of regular nanites. They will work as both tracker and explosives. Hermes, confirm nanite tracking integrity, Tony ordered. Tracking signals are stable, boss. The nanites are circulating within their bloodstream as expected. They'll remain undetectable unless someone performs an advanced bioscan, Hermes replied. Good. I want real-time tracking on them when I release them tonight. If they lead me to another hideout, I want every detail mapped. Understood, Hermes acknowledged. Tony ran a hand through his hair. He had extracted as much data as possible from their devices, but there were always hidden networks, unknown locations, and off-the-record safe houses that weren't documented. By letting these 2 run free, he'd turn them into beacons leading him straight to the rest of their organization. Besides, they have seen his face, so letting them live wasn't an option. A plan was forming in his mind. He'd create a situation real enough for them to believe they had a chance to escape, and wanted terrorists like them wouldn't go to the cops but instead straight to their hideout. The moment they tried to regroup, he'd have their entire network on his radar. Who knows, maybe he will find some resources or bombs in their hideout, but that was for later. Right now, he had a lunch to attend. Tony changed into a casual white shirt and blue jeans. He slipped on his signature sunglasses and smirked at his reflection. No one would suspect that just hours ago, he was in his lab playing God with human biology. All right, Hermes. Put up the usual security protocol. I'll be back after lunch, he said as he placed the arc reactor on his chest under his shirt. Then he locked the main door and walked out of the facility. His mind momentarily drifted to Natasha. He couldn't wait to see what kind of trick she plans on playing at lunch today. The real game was how long she could keep up the act before realizing he was playing her just as much as she was playing him. Tony stretched his arms and began to walk down the road. Tony strolled through the city streets, feeling the midday sun warm his skin. Ah! Fresh air, warm sun. I missed this. He thought to himself. After his little experiment, it felt nice to feel alive and well again. He took a deep breath and smiled, enjoying the fresh air. The restaurant, Ember and Ash, stood at the corner of a busy avenue. A sleek, high-end establishment with a modern industrial design, warm lighting, and an ambience that screams money well spent. Of course, it did. He owned the damn place. Stepping inside, Tony was immediately met with the inviting aroma of spices, grilled meat, and freshly baked bread. The restaurant was moderately busy, but not packed. Natasha sat at a corner table near the window, wearing a fitted black top and high-waisted jeans. Casual, but calculated. She sipped on a glass of orange juice, watching him with those ever-knowing green eyes. Well, look who decided to rejoin the land of the living, she teased. I was starting to think I'd have to put out a missing persons report. Tony smirked as he slid into the seat across from her. I'd like to see the report. Genius billionaire mysteriously disappears, suspected foul play by jealous ex-girlfriends or corporate rivals. Would make for a great headline. Or, she countered, setting down her glass, Tony Stark ghosts a beautiful woman for 20 days. What is he hiding? Tony chuckled. Oh, come on, Nat. You? Beautiful? I don't see it. She arched an eyebrow, leaning in just enough to close the space between them. You sure? You've been staring since you walked in. He tilted his head, playing along. That's because I was wondering how many people you've poisoned since I last saw you. She laughed, shaking her head. Not many. But I do have something extra special for you today. She gestured to the waiter, who promptly brought over a dish. The scent hit Tony instantly, spicy, aromatic, laced with just enough heat to make his mouth water. Let me guess, Tony mused, picking up his fork. You asked the chef to turn up the spice level to max just to see if I'd sweat. Natasha smirked. Consider it payback for ghosting me. Tony took a bite. The heat was immediate, but nothing he couldn't handle. He chewed thoughtfully, nodding. Not bad. But you're gonna have to try harder than this if you want to make me break a sweat. Oh, I have other ways, she said smoothly, resting her chin on her hand. He raised an eyebrow. Flirting, Romanoff? That's not very subtle. Who said I was flirting? She shot back, taking another sip of her orange juice. Maybe I'm just observing. You've been off the grid for nearly 3 weeks, and now you show up looking way too well rested for someone who's been working. Tony smirked but didn't take the bait. Oh, you know me. Sleep is for the weak, and I'm just that good at what I do. She murmured, eyes narrowing slightly. So what have you been working on, boss? There it was. The shift. Tony leaned back, spinning his fork between his fingers. You mean, what top-secret world-altering project have I been obsessively locked away with, to the point that I forgot to return calls, texts, and check in with my totally not suspicious restaurant manager? Something like that. Natasha held his gaze, unreadable. Tony smiled lazily. Nothing special. Just tinkering with some medical research. You know, trying to make the world a better place. Very heroic of me. Medical research? She quirked an eyebrow. Okay. As much as I'd like to know. I guess, this is one of those, if I tell you, I'll have to kill you, situations. Am I close enough? Maybe. He leaned forward and looked into her eyes. Depends on what you are gonna do after knowing the secret. Me? She smiled coyly. I don't know. Maybe sell it out for some quick money and run away from here and live a rich life with no worries or responsibilities. Ouch. How could you do that to your poor, innocent boss? He pressed a palm to his chest in mock hurt. Innocent? Yeah, right. And you are too old to play that card. She chuckled. Tony gasped dramatically. Old? I'm wounded. You've struck me straight through the heart, Nat. She rolled her eyes but couldn't help smiling. Stop being so dramatic. It's not a good look on you. He waggled a finger at her. You don't know me well enough to say that. For all you know, I could be a secret drama nerd. I could have a whole collection of Broadway playbills hidden under my bed. Natasha laughed. You, a secret theater nerd? I find that hard to believe. Why? Because I'm rich, handsome, and brilliant? Can't I also have a passion for the arts? He asked innocently. She leaned in closer, lowering her voice to a playful whisper. Maybe, but I think your real passion lies in something else. Really? He mirrored her movement, his own voice dropping. What do you think it is? Her eyes dropped to his lips, and he felt a slight tremor go through him. He swallowed, leaning in further to meet her. He could feel her breath ghosting against his skin, and it took all his self-control to stay still. Her gaze flicked back up to meet his, and he saw a hint of amusement in her green irises. Well. I'm guessing you're a very busy man, Mr. Stark. You've got a company to run, research to do, inventions to create. I doubt you have time to sit around and watch musicals every night. He raised an eyebrow. So you're saying my passion is work? That's boring. Everyone loves working, but not everyone loves their jobs. Do you love your job, Nat? Yes, I do. She smirked. Because I love the perks that come with it. Perks? He frowned, acting confused. Like, free food and drinks? Among other things. She glanced at his lips again before pulling back. Other things? He leaned a bit closer, smirking. Care to elaborate? What the hell is this going? I keep getting pulled into his pace. But for some reason, I don't hate it. Damn it. What's this feeling? She also leaned in closer. Sorry, boss, that's classified information. Oh. So we're doing the spy game now? Alright, I can play this game, he challenged. Good. I hope you are ready to lose because I'm very good at this game. We'll see about that. He was practically whispering now, his voice low and husky. She tilted her head slightly, studying him with an intensity that made his pulse quicken. Her gaze flickered down to his mouth, then back up to meet his eyes, and he felt his breath catch in his throat. The air between them seemed charged, electric, and he could feel the heat radiating off her skin. Tell me, boss. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Are you ready to play? Her lips were so close, he could almost smell her cherry lipstick. Her red lips curved into a devilish smile as she watched him try to resist the urge to kiss her. It was infuriating. And it was addictive. I should be the one playing her, not the other way around, he thought. Damn it, she is good. It's a dangerous game, Nat. Once you get in, the way out is very difficult. Maybe impossible, he whispered, his lips barely brushing hers as he spoke. He pulled back at the last moment and stood up. And I'd hate to see you get hurt. So, maybe you should back out now while you still can. Or if you want to play, we can play somewhere nice and quiet. Your apartment. Wednesday? Damn it. That was. Wait. Was I angry because he didn't kiss me? And now he wants to come to my apartment. Well. This will make things easier, she thought. Wednesday, evening. Natasha smirked. Don't be late. I'll be there. Tony grinned. Well, time to go. See you in 2 days. The red and blue lighting in the underground facility flickered sporadically, casting eerie shadows across the cold, sterile walls. The faint hum of machinery filled the air, punctuated by the occasional spark from an exposed wire. Tony had spent the last hour setting up a controlled malfunction, an illusion of a security failure so convincing that even the most paranoid escapee wouldn't question it. Sitting in the back of a sleek black SUV parked just outside the facility, Tony watched through the live feed displayed on his wrist interface. The 2 surviving terrorists were still unconscious in their containment cells, strapped to their chairs, unaware of what was about to happen. Hermes, begin Phase 1, Tony ordered. Initiating system failure simulation, Hermes replied smoothly. Inside, the lights flickered again. This time more aggressively. A low alarm sounded, followed by a distorted robotic voice from the PA system, warning. Security systems are compromised. Manual override detected. Tony smirked. That should do it. He had carefully calibrated the warning so that it sounded just vague enough to be plausible, but not alarming enough to raise suspicion. Next, the restraints on the 2 men were unlatched with an audible click. The metal cuffs sprang open, freeing their bruised wrists. At the same time, the heavy steel door to their holding cell let out a mechanical groan and slid open by a few inches, just enough to make it look like a forced override. One of the men, still groggy from the sedatives, blinked in confusion and looked around. His companion, a wiry man with a scar along his jaw, reacted faster. Shit, are we free? He muttered, rubbing his wrists. His voice was hoarse from dehydration and stress. The second man, still disoriented, stumbled forward. The restraints, the door, something's wrong. Not something, Scar muttered. Someone. Maybe the system's fried. Maybe someone hacked it. Either way, I'm not staying to find out. Tony watched as they hesitated for a split second, their minds torn between caution and the overwhelming desire to escape. Then, as expected, survival instincts kicked in. In their mind, it was better to take this chance and run rather than wait for their demise. So, they ran. Phase 2. As they stepped into the corridor, Tony activated the next part of his plan. He deployed the old, glitchy security bots. They were relics from one of his past projects, outdated and barely functional, but tonight, they served a purpose. One of the bots, a humanoid drone with visible rust on its joints, stumbled forward erratically. Its single glowing red eye flickered as it moved, making a static noise before spitting out a garbled warning. Error. System override. Threat detected. It convulsed, sparks flying from its frame. Then, without warning, it collapsed into a heap of useless metal. The terrorists didn't stop to question it. Instead, they sprinted past the malfunctioning robot, completely buying into the narrative Tony had crafted. The plan was working. They took the elevator to the main floor. Those two were so desperate that they didn't even think how the heck was the elevator working when everything was glitched up, or why was there a single button on a panel with the main floor written on it. "Boss, they're approaching the exit," Hermes informed. Tony leaned back, folding his arms. "Perfect. Let's see where they run." The final piece of his plan fell into place as the two men stumbled outside, gasping for air. After being locked up and experimented on, their only thought was escape. They didn't bother to check their surroundings, nor did they stop to consider if they were walking into a trap. The moment they saw the black SUV parked near the gate, their desperation took over. "There! A car!" Scar, the lucky third one, pointed. The other man didn't hesitate. He rushed to the driver's side and smashed the window with his elbow. Blood dripped from his elbow as he reached inside, unlocking the door. Within seconds, he was inside, hot-wiring the ignition. Tony smirked in the back seat, perfectly hidden in stealth mode. His suit's advanced cloaking tech ensured he was completely undetectable, silent, invisible, just an observer in his own twisted game. The engine roared to life. "Let's go!" Scar barked, jumping into the passenger seat. The tires screeched as they sped off into the night. Tony exhaled slowly, watching as the city lights blurred past through the window. "Now, take me to your friends." The stolen SUV sped down the darkened roads of Malibu. Scar, still rubbing his sore wrists, glanced at the onboard map, tapping the screen with a tense urgency. "Thousand Oaks," he muttered. "Take the canyon road. We'll lose anyone tailing us." The driver gritted his teeth, his hands still slick with blood from smashing the window. "You sure about this? What if this is a setup?" Scar shot him a glare. "You'd rather stick around and find out? We need to regroup. That base is the only place off record. No chatter, no heat. We'll lay low and figure out who the hell just let us walk out of there." In the back seat, Tony remained invisible, his breathing steady, his pulse calm. He let the conversation play out, watching the desperation seep through their words. The fear. The uncertainty. They were walking right into his hands. "Just drive," Scar snapped, double-checking the map. "We'll take the back roads, avoid traffic cams." Tony smirked. Smart, but not smart enough. His suit's built-in signal scrambler ensured that any surveillance tech they might have worried about had already been dealt with. As far as the world was concerned, this SUV didn't exist. The vehicle wound through the twisting canyon roads, the city lights shrinking in the rearview mirror. The air was thick with tension. Scar leaned forward, his fingers drumming against the dashboard. "All right," he exhaled. "Once we get there, we contact Vasquez." "Why don't know about this place?" the driver asked. "You are a newbie, aren't you?" Scar said, scoffing. "Anyway, we are in this together. So, I'll tell you. We train sleepers in this facility. We brainwash them to work for us. They act normal, but they follow our commands. It's called the HYDRA brainwashing method. One word is all it takes to activate them. You have heard of it, haven't you?" The driver nodded. "Yeah, just some rumors. Well, after the fall of the main force and the hunt by Mandarin, we are reduced to a shadow. But, we won't give up. General Zola has a plan. Our men are already rebuilding the force. And Vasquez has been doing a good job of recruiting new members, Scar said, chuckling. You can't really see it, but we are a small force. And yet, we have managed to sneak under the radar of all these so-called shields. That's why they call us HYDRA. Cut off one head, 2 more shall take its place. Our numbers may be reduced, but we are far from defeated. These bastards. Tony thought in anger. They are like cockroaches. The driver was silent for a few moments. Then he spoke, you aren't gonna off me, are ya? Scar laughed, if I wanted to do that, I would have done it right there at the base. Just because you're a newbie doesn't mean we are that cruel. Vasquez will kill me if I kill you. That's a relief, the driver sighed. Well, I'll kill you all, Tony thought, darkly. How many sleepers are there? The driver asked. Enough, Scar replied cryptically. Don't ask me the number. I don't even know myself. Tony listened to their conversation in silence, his mind already formulating the next part of his plan, HYDRA sleepers. Things are going in a circle. If I were to take down HYDRA, I need to find that freaking Zola AI, he thought as he watched the road.as. The SUV made its way along the deserted back roads. 30 minutes later, Scar checked his watch, then nodded to himself. We're close. The driver tensed. What's the approach? Pull up to the checkpoint slowly. Let them see our faces before they put a bullet in our heads. Vasquez runs a tight operation. If we do this wrong, they'll assume we've been compromised. Tony smirked. If only you knew how right you were. The canyon widened, revealing a barely visible dirt road leading into a dense patch of trees. A single floodlight flickered in the distance. A makeshift checkpoint, 2 armed guards, clad in black tactical gear, stood behind a steel barrier blocking the entrance. Scar rolled down the window as they approached point. One of the guards stepped forward, rifle raised. Identify yourself. Scar didn't flinch. You recognize my face, don't you? The guard hesitated before lowering his weapon. Didn't think we'd see you again. Thought you were dead. Not yet. Now let us in. The second guard tapped an earpiece. Bringing them through. The steel barrier groaned as it lifted. The driver exhaled sharply and rolled forward, the SUV creeping past the guards into the facility perimeter. Tony took a mental note of everything, the placement of guards, the defenses, the layout. This wasn't just some hideout. This was a real operation. HYDRA was rebuilding from the inside out, and if Zola's AI was still pulling the strings, things could get ugly fast. The SUV rolled to a stop in front of a reinforced bunker entrance. More armed personnel stood on either side, their faces partially obscured by helmets. Scar and the driver stepped out cautiously, stretching their limbs after the long ride. The bunker door slid open with a hiss, and from the dimly lit corridor emerged a woman in a dark suit. Her presence was commanding, sadistic eyes and expression, and a cold smirk that sent a chill down the spine. She took one look at Scar and shook her head. You look like shit. Scar stumbled back in fear seeing the woman. He wasn't expecting to see her here. Madam Viper, don't be so afraid. Your entire team got killed and luckily you two survived. It'd be such a waste of intel if I were to kill you two right now. Oh, no. First I'll take everything you know out of your skulls and then I'll kill you, she said with a smile, chuckling creepily.